If you're a content creator and you're looking for a new laptop, I'm not saying anything, but I love this thing so much. One thing about this laptop is you're just endlessly cleaning it. Like, it's just so prone to fingerprints and dust. Like, you basically have to carry around a microfiber with you at all times. So this right here is the M3 Pro MacBook Pro 14-inch, and I got the space black color. I think it looks pretty sick, but like I mentioned, it does get a lot of fingerprints on it, so might be a deal breaker for some. So I've been using this laptop exclusively for about 3 months now. So I feel like I know the ins and outs, the pros, the cons, and it's from a perspective of a content creator. So I do a lot of video editing and I use a lot of, content creation software. So I'm going to be talking about how this handles with all of those things. So the chip I ended up going for in this laptop was the M3 Pro chip. Now, I wanted the Pro chip because I just wanted to get as much performance as I could without actually opting for the M3 Max, because that thing is ridiculously expensive and it really wasn't within my budget right now. So I wanted something in the middle ground that had a lot of performance, that was portable and quite affordable, which ended up being this laptop right here. But I still think the M3 model could handle some video editing fairly well as like editing pictures in Lightroom and Photoshop. It's definitely a really capable machine. But the Pro model just takes it a bit of a step further, and that's something I needed considering my profession is content creation. I wanted something that could live up to all the things I'm going to throw at it. So this laptop definitely does that. There is actually 2 options when it comes to the M3 Pro, so not to confuse you guys more, but there's an 11-core CPU, 14-core GPU version with 512 gigabytes of SSD, or the model I got, which is a 12-core CPU, 18-core GPU, and you have a terabyte of SSD. So the main reason I opted for this one is the time you add the extra storage, Apple's prices are extortionate, so it ends up making it the same price as the higher model, which comes with the increased storage anyway. So you might as well just get this one, and then that way you're getting the extra CPU core and you're getting the extra GPU cores, which are definitely going to come in handy when it comes to, editing my videos. So I thought this is definitely going to be the best one to get without making that huge leap and getting the M3 Max, which is an extra $1,000 here in the UK, which is like £800. So, it is quite a big step up going from this to the M3 Max. And yes, that laptop is going to be a lot more powerful than this. I've seen a lot of criticism about this laptop online from users who previously had the M2 Max and the M1 Max, and they're kind of saying like this laptop right here doesn't really live up. It's not really an upgrade. And I would kind of agree. The Max chip is always going to outperform the Pro chips because the GPU is just way more powerful. And so even if you get the latest Pro chip, the M3 Pro, it's still not going to compete with those Max chips from last year or the year before. So if you're looking for the absolute most powerful, affordable machine, I know affordable is not something you usually think of when it comes to Apple, but if you are, then you might want to look at last year's M2 Max or even the M1 Max, which still holds up really well, even in 2024. But honestly, when I was looking online trying to find the best price, I found that because Macs hold their value so well and those chips still are so powerful, the prices hadn't dropped too much. Considering I also get educational pricing, I got this for about £2,200. And when I was looking for even the M1 Max, a lot of the time secondhand, they were still more expensive than this. And you're gonna have things degrading on that laptop, like the battery, and you're gonna have wear and tear from the previous owners. And so considering this was cheaper, not quite as powerful, but the latest laptop, I felt like this is gonna be the best in terms of, future-proofing, future updates, things like that. So that's kind of the reason that I decided to go for this model specifically. And I also really like the color of this. The reason I kind of went for space black is because it goes with my iPhone, which is also space black, and it kind of goes with all my accessories. A lot of the things I own are in like a black variant. And so even though this isn't quite black, it's more of a dark slate gray, it still kind of goes with all my stuff. And I feel like the silver model just stands out and doesn't really fit into, the color scheme I have going on. But I really like the silver model. A few people commented on my impressions video of this laptop saying how much they like the silver. And I must admit, it is really clean. It doesn't fingerprint very much. And overall, I kind of like it a little bit better than this in a way, because I feel like it looks more like a Pro, because, the keyboard has that kind of black outline and you really can't see that on this. And so it kind of looks like the Midnight MacBook Air 13-inch. So it doesn't look like a crazy high spec expensive MacBook in my opinion. It kind of just looks like something like the Air. But obviously the thing that is setting it apart is you're getting the ports that you don't have on the Air, and you're getting the better performance and all the things that make this a pro laptop, like the 120 Hz ProMotion display. And just having the ability to plug in an SD card into the laptop. That's something that's just so convenient, especially as a content creator. You don't want to be carrying around dongles and forgetting things and not being able to get the footage off your camera. Having these ports on the laptop is really necessary, and it's something that really threw me off from buying the Air models previously. And especially having the faster USB-C ports, and you've got 3 of them, as well as the HDMI port, you're able to, plug in all your various accessories, your external monitors, your SSD, you've got a lot of options in terms of like plugging things into this device. And also you can charge it via MagSafe, so one of those ports doesn't have to be taken up by your charger. So I would definitely say that's like a massive advantage for the Pro models if you're considering between the Air and the Pro. It really is to do with like the ports and what you have accessible, as well as the display. So let's talk about that. One of the things I really noticed coming to this laptop from my previous Intel MacBook is that this screen is so much brighter and the colors are so much more vivid. So, when you're using this in bright conditions in like a bright room, you can really see the colors very well. And not only are they bright and, contrasty, but they're also really color accurate. So Apple actually calibrate these P3 panels in their factory to be as accurate as possible out the box. So, if you are wanting the most color accurate display for, editing your videos, I would personally go for a laptop like this because, I've edited on other Windows laptops in the past, and I even own color grading monitors, which I have connected to my Mac Mini, but I just find they're just not as consistent as this display on the MacBook, which is kind of crazy because it's just a laptop, but this display is just so good for creators. I feel like this is made for creators. Anyone color grading in Lightroom, adding presets or adjusting your images, or color grading your videos or graphic design, colors are great on this laptop. Now it is time for today's video sponsor, which is Nordpass for Business. In today's day and age, it can be an incredibly difficult and complicated process running a business, and things can quickly go wrong. Logging into different accounts with different login details can be a real headache because you don't want to keep all your details the same, otherwise your vulnerability goes out the window. So having different usernames and passwords can quickly get confusing, especially if you have employees in multiple locations and you need to provide them the details to get into certain software or accounts. Nordpass works no matter if you have Windows, Mac, iOS, or Android. It's going to work across all of those ecosystems, and it's going to make the whole process of logging into things seamless. All you need to do is download the software. You can go ahead and store all your important secure credentials in one place. It could be things like secure notes for your business or credit card information, which is super important, and you definitely don't want to get that information into the wrong hands. Now, not only does Nordpass work with passwords, it also works with passkeys, which are a new form of security, and basically they're cryptographic keys backed by biometrics. So you'll need biometric authentication to actually unlock and use the passkeys, which you'll have as a business owner and your employees can be granted access. But if your employees are out the door, then so is their access to Nordpass. With a single click of the button, you can go ahead and revoke access to employees on demand, or even give employees access for a limited period of time. Nordpass is one of the market's most robust data scanners, so it can immediately find if any of your passwords or secure information is leaked online, and it will tell you straight away that you need to change that information. And there's even a built-in tool for telling you if your passwords are secure enough. So, here's the deal. You can get 3 months free trial using the code MattRobNord, or you can check out the link in the description below. And you can go ahead and try out the software completely free for 3 months. You really have nothing to lose, but make sure you act fast because the offer is time limited. So thank you so much for sponsoring this section, Nordpass, and stay secure, guys. I feel like at Apple's keynote, they really were pushing the fact that this is like also a gaming machine now, as well as like a content creation, productive laptop. So not only do people use it for businesses now, but they can use it for gaming too. And it's kind of a tricky one, that, because I would agree that this is definitely capable more than enough to run games, but the problem is when it comes to compatibility. I actually installed Fortnite on here. A lot of people don't realize you can actually get it on Mac, but there's no updates. So basically you're running like an outdated version and you can only play online with other Mac users. But it performs well. You can max out all the settings and run it at like 120 frames per second, and it looks great on this screen. But the problem is when it comes to just compatibility and support. You don't get all the updates for the game like you would on a Windows computer, and in terms of game selection, you're super limited. Like myself, I'm not really much of a gamer, but when I do play games, it's games like Call of Duty, as well as, GTA, things like that. And they're games you just are not able to get on this laptop. And I doubt you're gonna be able to get them anytime soon. And there's no real workarounds. So on the Intel laptops, you had things like Boot Camp, where you could boot up in Windows and run Windows games. And I actually played Call of Duty on my old laptop. And even though it wasn't the highest performance chip in the world, it was still able to run the game. But even though this is more powerful than that, I'm not able to run it on here. So it feels like a deal breaker and almost like a step backwards when it comes to Apple Silicon. No, I'm not hating Apple Silicon. It's amazing in all areas, but the fact that there is no Windows support anymore without using parallels and some workarounds using virtual machines, which really do harm performance, there's no way of getting anything Windows on here. And that wouldn't be a problem if game makers actually made games for macOS, but they just really don't. And the only games you can really get on here, other than like Minecraft, outdated Fortnite, is iOS games like Asphalt 9, or you can get Resident Evil 4. So that recently came out, and I installed it and I played it, and it performs great, like it really does. But I'm just not really into the game, so I feel like I wouldn't play it much, but you can actually download it free, which is pretty insane. I'm so happy after 3 months of using this that I did go for the 14-inch model. I really like the form factor of this laptop. I love how it doesn't have really thick borders around the keyboard, and it really does feel compact and efficient and just a good use of space. I can easily throw it in my backpack, I could edit on the train, on a flight, and it doesn't take up my whole space around me because those conditions are quite tight. But overall, from my point of view, I have a desktop computer with monitors, and even if I didn't have the computer itself, I could plug this into monitors and get a bigger screen if I needed it, but I couldn't get a smaller screen if this was the bigger laptop. The only problem with using a laptop in order to run a whole desk setup like this is you need so many cables and so many adapters in order to make it work, but I actually picked up a docking station by Tobin One. So this right here is the UDS 033. And it kind of matches the MacBook in terms of that space black color. This thing is made of aluminum and it honestly looks really good on the desk setup. But what this device does, it basically allows you to connect all of your monitors, all of your peripherals, SSDs, absolutely everything you want to connect to your laptop. You plug it into this dock, and then you just need to plug in one cable to your laptop every time you sit down at the desk, and it's going to connect all those devices up as well as the monitors and even power your laptop all through that one cable. And this thing supports up to 3 external monitors on Mac. It does support DisplayPort as well as HDMI at 4K up to 60 Hertz. So you can really run your whole setup through this dock right here. It does price in at £180. You can check it out using the link down below. But this thing is pretty awesome, and if you have your laptop closed and tucked away, you have a bunch of ports on the front. So you have 3 USB Type-A ports, you could plug in some old school devices into there, you can even plug in headphones or like any speaker you want because there's a headphone jack on the front, and you have 2 USB-C power delivery ports which are super fast data transfer. So you can plug in SSDs and edit off those SSDs directly on your MacBook without even having to connect them directly. But you really don't notice the smaller screen size on this because they've kind of pushed the bezels thinner, they've pushed the screen up more, and you do have the notch, but you're getting a 14-inch display in a form factor that's so much smaller than even the original 15-inch, and you're only dropping like an inch in size. So I would personally go for the smaller laptop. Do let me know in the comments section your arguments for getting the bigger laptop, but of course it's not only less convenient for me, it's actually more expensive, so by getting the smaller laptop, I was able to get the more powerful chip. So, you know, that also might be an argument. Two things Apple really highlighted at their event were ray tracing, which is now hardware ray tracing, which means you're going to get more realistic graphics when it comes to games, which is great. And I really do hope more game developers do create games for the Mac, because I feel like it's definitely more than capable enough to run some of these games. And I would really love to see things like Call of Duty come to the Mac. I feel like that'd be so awesome because, you know, a lot of gaming laptops are really big, chunky with like huge fans. And this is just such a sleek, like notebook-like laptop. I feel like that's what makes it so great. It's so powerful, but it's so portable and small and thin. And a lot of the Windows laptops, in my opinion, they just don't check all the boxes when it comes to the same sort of hardware as this. There is a lot of Windows machines out there, like I mean a lot, and I'm sure some of them can compete with this in, you know, most areas, but I feel like a lot of them you're making sacrifices. So maybe you're getting a thin form factor like this, but it's not quite as powerful as this, or you're not getting quite as good a screen as this, or the battery life sucks. I feel like, you know, you're getting one thing or another, but not quite everything. Whereas I feel like this laptop nails everything. Like holding this, feeling the hand is great. It's beautiful. I love like all the curves and the build quality. I love the color. And the hardware is exceptional. You know, the chip is super powerful. It's fast at exporting video. The screen is great for watching content. You've got amazing battery life. Like I didn't even touch on the battery life, but you know, some days I would edit on this unplugged for like 5 hours in Final Cut, and I'd be editing 10-bit 4K video, exporting things, and you know, it barely even cut into the battery life. Like I'm still able to, you know, use it the next day for a few hours, and it charges up super fast as well. So I just feel like overall this has everything. And you know, even when it comes to like the speakers are great in this. Like a lot of Windows laptops, you know, every box might be checked, but the speakers suck. But the thing is, sometimes I just want to edit and use the speakers, and I want them to be balanced and reliable and loud. And you know, even before I was in my office, I was playing music on these because my headphones ran out of power, and the sound quality is just so good. Even the microphone, it's great for if you're doing FaceTime calls, video calls for work. The microphone is super crystal clear in this. So yeah, I feel like overall, as a content creator, this checks the box for everything that you would want and need in a laptop. So I definitely recommend it. You know, despite some of the hate out there, despite people saying it's not as good performance as the Max chip, you know, this is a good laptop. If you need to edit videos and you want fast export times, you want something that has really great battery life, that feels premium, that's just an aesthetically nice laptop that's also good for, you know, web browsing, listening to music. Speakers are good for video calls. You know, it's like everything you would want in one. If you haven't already seen my impressions video, it might be worth going back and seeing my impressions when I first got it, because that also might help you out if you are buying it. Maybe you've owned it a couple weeks and you have some doubts, then you might want to check that video out. And a few people commented on that video asking about whether this laptop is painted or whether the metal is just colored. And the answer is Apple actually colored the metal space black. So, you know, if you do get scratches and chips, underneath it should also be space black. So there shouldn't be like a silver coating coming out from underneath, which could be a real deal breaker for some people. You know, if you get scratches, you don't want them to stand out and have like silver underneath. So that might persuade people to get like the silver model, but no, this is actually space black colored. So yeah, that's your answer. But yeah, that is pretty much all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm going to be doing more coverage on this laptop for sure, so definitely do subscribe down below. And yeah, stick around for more future videos. I will see you guys later. Peace.